San Francisco is expensive, but here's the trade-off. What if I told you the best luxury upgrade you're gonna get here isn't a bigger house, it's being able to walk everywhere.
Today, I'm counting down the 10 most walkable neighborhoods in San Francisco, and my number one pick is probably going to surprise you. After going through the criteria, it actually surprised me too. So how I'm actually defining this, it comes down to one question. Can you spend an entire Saturday on foot and never once think about your car? That's the bar. We'll call it the Saturday test. If you're new here, I'm Clay Gjevre. I make videos about living in San Francisco, and I'm also a real estate agent here. Me and my team help people just like you move to San Francisco every single day. So let's get into it. We're starting out at number 10, a neighborhood a lot of people couldn't even point out on a map. But the second you're on foot here, it completely over-delivers. Noe Valley is one of those neighborhoods people don't always think about until they visit. Or they sort of forget about it. But then when they're here, they get it immediately. The commercial strip along Cole Street is small, but it delivers.
Wooden coffee house for coffee in the morning, Zazie for your weekend brunch, and the ice cream bar for an old school Sunday fountain treat. A couple of neighborhood bars and a muni stop right on the corner.
Golden Gate Park is your backyard, as I love to say, and you can walk to the Panhandle in 5 minutes. The housing stock here is mostly Edwardian and Victorian flats and single family homes. Older buildings with character, a mix of owned and rented. You're not going to find new construction or modern condos here. The median condo price is around 1.7 million and single family homes run around 3.8 million. Who lives here tends to be a mix of longtime San Francisco residents, young couples, and people who specifically sought out a quieter, more residential feel without giving up urban convenience. You're not going to find transplants here that are by accident. People who land in Noe Valley usually choose it deliberately. The weekdays are quiet, the coffee shops fill up with remote workers in the morning, streets are gonna thin out by 9 a.m., and the neighborhood goes about its business. Weekends are when it comes alive. Zazie has a line out the door, people are walking dogs through the park, and the whole place has a relaxed, unhurried energy. The one honest downside, the commercial corridor is really small. If you want variety, multiple grocery options, a broad restaurant scene, nightlife, you're leaving the neighborhood. For some people, that's fine. For others, it's a deal breaker. But if you want a true neighborhood feel where people actually know each other, Noe Valley is hard to beat. And it's probably the most underrated neighborhood on this entire list. But underrated doesn't mean unknown. And the further up we go, the more that changes. Russian Hill would rank much higher if San Francisco didn't insist on making you earn these views. This is one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in the city.
And up on Hyde Street, that's kind of the real heart of Russian Hill dining. You've got Seven Hills for Italian, Union Larder for wine and cheese, Abrazo for Spanish small plates, and Swenson's. They've been scooping ice cream on the cable car line since 1948.
North Beach is right next door, the waterfront is close, downtown isn't far, the housing stock skews towards older apartment buildings, pre-war flats, and some of the most coveted single-family homes in the city. There's not much new construction. There's a little here and there. The buildings have history and the neighborhood feels like it. Median condo price is just over 1.4 million and single-family homes run close to 5.65 million. Who lives here is a real mix. Longtime residents who've been here for decades, professionals who want a proximity to downtown without living in a high-rise, people who prioritize views and beauty over flat terrain. It definitely skews a little older than neighborhoods like the Castro or Mission Dolores.
Hyde Street has consistent foot traffic all week. Weekends, the restaurant scenes pick up. It has more of a neighborhood dining culture than a nightlife culture, which suits the residents here just fine.
The hills are the obvious answer when you ask what's missing, but the more specific issue is that Russian Hill is a little isolated, depending on exactly where you are there. And some parts can require a real commitment to get in and get out on foot. Especially if you're gonna go downtown or to the waterfront. Transit isn't as strong here as in some of the other neighborhoods that are gonna be higher up on the list. Okay, I really do think the Inner Sunset is one of the most underrated neighborhoods in San Francisco. Daily life revolves around Irving Street.
Erzmendy Bakery in the morning, Marnie Thai for a slow lunch, the Beanery for your afternoon coffee, and a stretch of restaurants and local businesses that goes block after block. Sandtongue and a handful of other spots get busy enough to warrant a wait.
Golden Gate Park is right next door. The Botanical Garden or Stowe Lake, it's a 10-minute walk. The Judah runs straight through the neighborhood and gets you downtown in under 25 minutes. The housing stock is predominantly Edwardian flats, 2-unit buildings, and some single-family homes. Lots of original architectural detail, mostly built in the early 1900s. It's got a reasonable number of owner-occupied buildings compared to some other San Francisco neighborhoods. Median condo price is around $1.4 million, and single-family homes are around $2.1 million. Families, longtime SF residents, UCSF staff and students, a growing number of people who moved here specifically because they couldn't afford the more expensive parts of the city, and then they're surprised by what they actually found here. It has a loyal, tight-knit feel. There's a noticeable weekend shift here. The farmers market draws people from across the city. Weekdays are calmer, and it's a genuine neighborhood, not a destination. And most residents consider that a feature. Our friend Carl, the fog, is the honest caveat here. It's not a walkability issue exactly, but it matters for quality of life. The neighborhood also feels more spread out than some higher on the list. The walkable zone is real, but it's not as compact as what you'll find in the top 5. Noe Valley feels like a small town dropped into the middle of San Francisco. Everything centers around 24th Street.
You got Noe Valley Bakery in the morning, you can do SAR sushi or Firefly for dinner. There's a big Whole Foods and a stretch of independent shops in between.
It's one of the easiest neighborhoods in the city to navigate on foot with kids. It's got wide sidewalks, a great farmers market on Saturdays, and a pace of life that doesn't feel rushed. The housing stock is some of the most desirable in the city. Well-maintained Victorians, Edwardians, and single-family homes on relatively wide lots by San Francisco standards. People buy here and then they stay. The turnover is pretty low. And look, low turnover isn't just a vibe, it's a market signal. When people don't leave, that tells you something. The median condo price here is around $1.6 million, and single-family homes run around $2.8 million. Primarily families and established professionals, Noe Valley has a well-earned reputation as one of the city's most family-friendly neighborhoods. Stroller density is high. There's a reason people joke about it, and a reason people who move here rarely leave. Weekdays on 24th Street is pleasantly busy. Coffee shops full of remote workers, parents with kids, people running errands. Weekends amp that up. The farmers market brings people in from outside the neighborhood, and the whole street has an energy that feels celebratory without being chaotic. Once you move off 24th Street, the hills come back fast, and the neighborhood skews pretty quiet. If you want nightlife or late night options, you're gonna head somewhere else. That's not a complaint for most Noe Valley residents, but it's worth knowing if you're gonna move there. The Castro, or what we call Eureka Valley, combines walkability with some of the best transit access in the city. Restaurants, nightlife, grocery stores, coffee shops, gyms, it's all packed into a compact area.
Castro Coffee Company on the main drag, Anchor Oyster Bar for classic seafood, Poisha for Italian, and a nightlife scene that starts earlier than most neighborhoods and runs a lot later.
Muni Metro makes getting downtown fast and easy. Here's the thing, strong transit plus walkability means this neighborhood holds its value even when the market gets rough. Most buyers don't think about that until after the fact. Housing stock is a mix of Victorians and Edwardians, and a few mid-century apartment buildings, and then some newer buildings have been built as well. A lot of them are beautifully maintained and updated. People take care of their buildings here, and you will notice it. The median condo price is around $1.55 million, and single-family homes are around $3.4 million. The neighborhood is genuinely a diverse mix in terms of age and backgrounds. It's anchored by the neighborhood's identity as a heart of San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community. Long-term residents, younger transplants, couples, singles, people move here because of what the Castro is, not just because it's convenient. The Castro has energy all week, but weekends are something else. The street fills up, the bars open early, and the neighborhood takes on a festive quality that's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it. Weekdays are more relaxed, but still very lively. Good transit means it's a viable base for people commuting anywhere in the city. What the neighborhoods above it on the list do better is pack more into the same footprint. The Castro is excellent, but it's a little more one-dimensional. Great nightlife and daily experience, but fewer of those mid-afternoon options that make a neighborhood feel like a complete world. Okay, these are the honorable mentions, neighborhoods that came very close. I'll keep these quick, and then we're gonna get into the top 5. Bernal Heights. Cortland Ave is one of the best neighborhood commercial streets in the city. Good coffee, good food, an actual small town feel in the middle of a dense urban neighborhood. The reason it misses is that most of Bernal sits uphill from that corridor. The commercial core is great, but getting to it requires an effort depending on where you live. Potrero Hill, it surprises people. The top of the hill's flat, the views are incredible, and 18th Street has real walkability. It doesn't rank higher because the hill creates a real barrier between the neighborhood and everything around it. But once you're there, day-to-day life on foot is genuinely really nice. Pacific Heights. Fillmore Street is a real thing. I love it. Great restaurants, coffee, boutiques, Molly Stones. The reason it misses is that the walkable zones are uneven across the neighborhood. Proximity to Fillmore matters a lot, and the northern edge gets steep fast. Okay, honorable mentions are done, and now we're into the top 5, and this is where it gets harder to argue with. Cow Hollow is one of the easiest neighborhoods in San Francisco to live with on a car. Union Street is the star.
Wrecking Ball Coffee and a dozen coffee alternatives.
Soul Cycle and a row of fitness studios, grocery stores, boutiques, the kind of block you can spend 2 hours on without a plan. And unlike most of San Francisco, it's pretty flat. That changes everything when you're talking about actual day-to-day walkability. The housing stock is a mix of Edwardians and Victorian flats, some converted single-family homes, and a handful of smaller condo buildings. It's not a neighborhood of high-rises and large new developments. The scale stays really human. Median condo prices around 1.7 million, and single-family homes jump to just under 8 million. Young professionals, couples in their 30s, people who want an active social lifestyle and easy access to the outdoors. Cow Hollow has a reputation for a certain demographic, fitness-oriented, socially active, not quite as family-centric as Noe Valley. And while that's a generalization, it's not entirely wrong. Weekdays are busy, but manageable. Union Street has consistent foot traffic from the morning coffee crowd through to the evening dinner rush. Weekends are when Cow Hollow really hums. Brunch lines, busy boutiques, and a street energy that lasts well into the evening. Cow Hollow is a little light on cultural destinations, no major park within the neighborhood itself, limited arts or music venues. The Marina Green and Chrissy Field are close, but they're technically the Marina. If you want a little more cultural depth, some of the entries above it on the list are going to serve you better. Hayes Valley is basically the urban village. Compact, dense, and walkable in a way that feels intentional rather than accidental. Patricia's Green anchors the whole thing. Coffee on one side, wine bar on the other. Foot traffic all day. Salt and Straw for ice cream, absinthe, a stretch of independent shops along Hayes Street that feels curated but not precious. Transit access is excellent. You're a short walk from multiple Muni lines. The architecture is kind of all over the place, but in a good way. They've got Victorians, but newer condos, live-work lofts. It's a really interesting streetscape. Median condo price is around 1.1 million. Only 6 single-family homes sold here, so condos are really the story. Creative professionals, people in the arts and tech, couples without kids, and a growing number of buyers who want walkability and urban energy without paying Marina or Noe Valley prices. It skews younger for sure, and people there care about how things look. The neighborhood feels intentional. Hayes Valley has more consistent energy than most neighborhoods on this list. The proximity to Davies Symphony Hall and the opera means midweek evenings can feel surprisingly lively. Weekends bring the full neighborhood out. The green fills up, the restaurants get busy, and it has a genuine community feel that's harder to find in more transient parts of the city. The honest limitation is scale. Hayes Valley is excellent within its footprint, but that footprint is small. You can walk the main commercial stretch in 10 minutes. No major park, no waterfront, no secondary commercial corridor of note. Compared to the top 3 on this list, it just doesn't have the same volume of daily life to offer. For some people, that tight curated quality is exactly the appeal, but it's worth knowing what you're getting. Mission Dolores is where convenience and lifestyle start coming together at a very high level. Dolores Park is your front yard, and honestly, it's one of the best urban parks in the country.
Delfina and its pizzeria next door for dinner, Tartine for the morning bun, Buy Right Creamery for a scoop to carry into the park, and Buy Right Market for groceries. With Valencia Street a block over for nightlife, BART is at 16th or 24th in Mission.
It's a neighborhood where you can spend an entire day on foot and never run out of things to do. The housing stock is one of the most diverse on the list. We've got Victorians, Edwardians, Mission-style apartments, newer condos. A lot of it survived the 1906 earthquake, and that gives the streetscape a richness and a variety that you don't find everywhere. Median condo price is around 1.4 million. Only 2 single-family homes sold here, so the condo number is the one that matters. It's a genuine cross-section of San Francisco. Long-term families, tech workers, artists, young professionals, couples who prioritize lifestyle over square footage. Mission Dolores is one of the few neighborhoods in the city where the demographic diversity still feels real rather than theoretical. Dolores Park on a sunny weekend is one of the great urban experiences in the city. It's just that simple. The park fills up, Valencia Street gets busy, and the neighborhood takes on an energy that's hard to match anywhere in the city. Weekdays are more relaxed, but still lively. BART access means this neighborhood works for commuters in a way that some of the western neighborhoods don't. For a lot of people, this is actually going to be their number one, and I get it. Hey, if you're trying to figure out which neighborhood actually fits your life, that's a conversation I have with buyers before they even start looking at homes. I've got a link in the description. If you're surprised the Marina isn't number one, you're probably not alone. It's flat. That matters more than people realize. Chestnut Street has restaurants, coffee, fitness studios, and grocery stores all stacked within a few blocks. And then you have the waterfront, Marina Green, Chrissy Field, the Palace of Fine Arts, all within a short walk. You can genuinely spend the entire weekend in the Marina without touching your car.
The housing stock is predominantly Mediterranean-style flats and apartment buildings from the 20s and 30s. It's built into the old grounds for the 1915 World's Fair. Beautiful facades, smaller units relative to price, very little new construction, a consistency of style that gives the neighborhood a visual cohesion. Median condo price is around 1.6 million, and single-family homes run around 4.9 million. Young professionals, people in their late 20s and 30s, fitness-oriented residents who want proximity to Chrissy Field and the waterfront. The Marina has a reputation, fair or not, for a certain type of San Franciscan. What's undeniable is that it's one of the most in-demand neighborhoods in the city, and the lifestyle is amazing. Chestnut Street is busy all week, but weekends bring out the full Marina experience. People running on the waterfront, weekend brunch, the green full of activity. It's a neighborhood that rewards being outside, and that flat terrain means you actually use your legs rather than dreading them. The Marina is great, and it's great for one version of life here. North Beach works for all of them. My pick for the most walkable neighborhood in San Francisco is North Beach. What separates North Beach from anything else on the list is density. Not just density of housing, density of your daily life. Morning coffee at Cafe Trieste, lunch at Tony's or one of a dozen Italian spots on Columbus, an afternoon in Washington Square Park, dinner somewhere new, a nightcap at a bar that's been there since the Beat generation. The waterfront is a 5-minute walk. Chinatown is next door. Downtown is close. The housing stock is a mix of older apartment buildings, Italian-era flats above storefronts, and some of the most charming residential streets in the city. Not much new construction. The buildings here feel like they've earned their place. Median condo price here is around 1.3 million. There's not really a big single-family home market here. I think there was one. This is a flats and condo neighborhood through and through. A genuine long-term community, Italian Americans who've been here for generations, artists and writers drawn to the neighborhood's history, young professionals who want to be in the middle of everything, and people who simply refuse to leave once they've experienced what it's like to be there. North Beach has one of the lowest resident turnover rates in San Francisco, and that is telling you everything. This is where North Beach separates itself from every other neighborhood on this list. Most neighborhoods have a weekday mode and a weekend mode. North Beach barely has a slow day. Washington Square Park is full on a Tuesday afternoon. The coffee shops are busy on a Wednesday morning. The restaurants fill up on a Thursday night. You can leave your apartment in the morning, spend an entire day on foot, and never feel like you've run out of places to go. The hills at the edges, Telegraph Hill especially, are real.
And parking is essentially non-existent. I'm sorry, which is fine if you're committed to a car-free life, but it's worth knowing. And the neighborhood's popularity means it can feel busy in a way that quieter neighborhoods on this list don't. But if you're talking pure walkability, the feeling of being completely at home in a city without ever needing a car, I don't think anything in San Francisco beats it. I've shown this list to people who've lived here for 20 years and people who just moved here. North Beach surprises a lot of them. They know and they love the neighborhood, they just kind of assumed one of the other neighborhoods would come out on top. The best neighborhood isn't the most walkable one, or the most expensive one, or the one that looks best on paper. It's the one that matches you and that you want to spend your time in. And if any of these neighborhoods on this list are on your short list, the next thing you should watch is this playlist with all of our neighborhood information on it. Choosing the right neighborhood in San Francisco matters more than almost any other decision you're going to make in this process. Me and my team help buyers get that right every day. Reach out if you want to talk through it, and if you're still in research mode, grab the free neighborhood guide in that description.